Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions concerning this watch. Today, one of the earliest products of the Vacheron Constantin Les Historiques collection. So, Les Historiques was a series conceived in the late 80s of re-editions of classic Vacheron references, generally a little bit larger, better material, spec, fit, finish, but extremely true to Vacheron's rich heritage. So this, the 47101 chronograph, is in many ways the rebirth of the classic and very rare 4178. So the watch in yellow gold is part of a run that lasted from around 91 to maybe 2003, 2004, but it entered the 21st century with some changes to the case back as reference 47111. So if you're wondering the relationship between those two series, well, the 101 in my experience tends to be a snap case back, and the 47111 tends to be fixed by screws. It's not the case that the 101s don't have display casebacks. They do, especially the later ones. It's more about whether or not the caseback is a snapback and the 101s have a snapback. So that is the distinction there. In yellow gold, rule of thumb, somewhere between 1,200 and 1,500 watches made over that period. Hard to say specifically since there were a lot of small editions made, but this watch is 37 millimeters in diameter in terms of thickness. I measured at 11.4 millimeters thick, 44 from lug to lug, and it's got a very neo-vintage 18 millimeter spacing between the lugs. So while it is part of Les Historiques, it is not necessarily a big watch. It's bigger than the original, but not big in the 21st century sense. Now, throwing it on my wrist, you can see it wears beautifully. I mean, this is a watch that anyone can wear with style, panache, and proportionality. It doesn't dwarf the wrist. Maybe in personality, it has an outsized presence, but it's small enough, and you can see how much of a clearance I have between the lugs and the edge of my wrist. You could wear this watch on a wrist as small as 13.5 centimeters circumference. So it's really a power watch for him and for her. And Neo Vintage is a great opportunity for female watch collectors who want no-nonsense mechanical watches, but built in more compact sizes. Neo Vintage being the watches of the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, and that's exactly what this is. So the watch is also flat enough to easily slide under a cuff. It's a Vacheron, of course it should be. The strap here is a sort of honey brown, matte finish, large rectangular symmetrical scale alligator leather. And you can see on the bottom, made in France, Vacheron Constantin, factory strap, in outstanding condition, no crimping, no gouging, calfskin, under gaiter. And large rectangular symmetrical scale gaiter is always one of the smallest patches of the alligator hide. It's on the underside, and thus the most expensive. You can also see that we have monotone stitch with a little bit of a crosswise orientation. Well done here. Curved spring bars. The edge is shear cut and then lacquered for refinement. And we have a Maltese cross motif on the pin buckle. And if you look on the underside of the pin buckle, you can see that it features the pre-August 1st, 1995 Helvetic head, the woman's head, as the hallmark. And August 1st, 1995 was the transition from the old hallmarks to the new Swiss hallmarks. And you could see that both the watch itself and the pin buckle have that pre-August 1st, 1995 hallmark. So logically, this would have been sometime between 1991 and mid-1995 in terms of production. Taking a look at the case, you can see the lugs are welded on, old school, laborious manual case making to weld a lug to a case and then file it to remove the gathered material and create that sharp break. Vacheron was producing far fewer watches back then, and so this kind of laborious, time-consuming assembly and finishing was practical. You can also see it's a very traditionally inspired watch, as there's no branding on the crown. That would have been the case historically. Of course, by the 90s, that convention was changing, but Vacheron was trying to stay very true to its history. The lugs are beautiful, and I've often said Vacheron doesn't have a design icon, or at least a whole watch, that could compare to something like a Rolex Submariner, the Omega Speedmaster Professional, JLC's Reverso, Patek's Nautilus, or AP's Royal Oak. Vacheron's enduring design legacy, the consistent feature of its watches through the decades, has been that the lugs are often distinctive, provocative, and memorable. That was certainly the case with the 4178. It is again the case on the 47101. You can also see there's a little bit of a faceting down their center, sort of a soft bevel. Now we've got this rounded case and then a stepped back case back and an instepped bezel to create the appearance of a thinner watch. And if you look very carefully, I mean very, very carefully, and get super close to the case, you could see that there's no case knife slot for this bezel, because this bezel is one and the same as the case. It's all monoblock from the top. Everything loads through the back. We've got vintage rectangular chronograph pushers and a dramatically vaulted crystal over dial that is a simple matte metallic silver. It's non-directional. It's not a sunburst. It's what Patek would call opaline, a fine frosted finish. We have a tachymetric scale outboard, and we have a base 1000, so unless you're good with mental decimals, this is for gauging the speed of things moving quite fast. So what happens is you start the chronograph when the race car starts a kilometer. That's always the classic example. And then when the race car finishes the kilometer, that's when you stop the chronograph and you look at the number adjacent to the seconds hand, and well, there you go. It's going 500 kilometers per hour. That must be a top fuel dragster. By the way, notice how it says 1,800 God and 500? The font on the 600 is curious and quirky. Taking a look at the dial itself, now you can see that the register is nicely balanced. This is a classic twin register design. The outer calibration is fairly involved since it features both the chronograph scale inboard and the tachymetric scale outboard. The dial also features applique yellow gold bi-Arabic numeral, Maltese cross logo, and stick indices, and then it is a Sigma dial. This is a tradition dating back to the early 70s. It was a Swiss precious metal trade group that encouraged watchmakers to put this Sigma-like symbol, sometimes known as the a priori marks, on dials that included solid gold hands, indices, and sometimes even solid gold dial discs. Vacheron was one of the very last to abandon this standard. So we have a Sigma dial. The hands are beautifully rounded across their top, baton-like, the kind of thing you do when you're making very few watches and you can really lavish time on the individual parts. Turning it over again, you can see this is a 47101/1, which may signify that we're into the era of display casebacks on the 47101. Remember, the early ones didn't have that. And a lot of people mistake the 47111 as a version of the 101 with a display caseback, but as you can clearly see, even prior to 95, sapphire casebacks were being fitted. The movement's based on the Lemania 2310, the ageless chronograph caliber that's seen duty in countless high horology watches, and as the Omega 321 actually went to the moon. Now this is a high luxury version, so this might be the Lemania 2320, which is like the Lux brother of the 2310. Regardless, it's a column wheel lateral clutch chrono with world-class column wheel feel, 2.5 hertz beat rate, 5-position high horology style adjustment. If you look, there's an overcoil hairspring for concentric breathing of the hairspring in any position on this very even, positionally agnostic timekeeping. 5-position adjusted, 21 joules, and you can see that it features a very small hairspring hooking guard extending from the curb pin mount, and that hooking guard is designed to prevent the overcoil from getting hung up on the regulator under conditions of shock. That's an old school feature that you'll find on 60s and 70s Rolex Daytonas too, and many other classical chronographs. And 48-hour power reserve manual wind. Vacheron calls this caliber 1140, and you can see that it is beautifully detailed, leaving nothing to be desired. This is as good as it gets. In fact, I would say this is greatness. And in a world where hype watches are bid beyond all reason, a timepiece like this remains fairly accessible for what it is, which is outstanding. Also, keep in mind, 30 meters water resistant when it was new. I would not test that theory today. I would suggest that just like its vintage forebear, the 4178, this too deserves to be treated like a venerated vintage piece and preserved for the ages. Reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.